Wednesday, June 30th, 2021, 5 p.m. This special meeting of the Board of Commissioners is called to order. City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Mayor Hendricks.
Here.
Vice Mayor Price. Here. Commissioner Hodges.
Here.
Commissioner Andrews.
Here.
Commissioner Hudson.
Here.
Before we start tonight, I'd like for us to take a moment of silence for the families and the people that topics. First is Ordinance 2021-10, Proportionate Share Ordinance, second reading and public hearing.
I read the ordinance?
Yes, please.
Okay. So this is Ordinance 2021-10, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Madeira Beach to amend Chapter 92, City of Madeira Beach Proportionate Share Development Fee Ordinance, to regulate the use and development of land in the City of Madeira Beach, imposing proportionate share development fee, impact fee on land development and redevelopment in the City of Madeira Beach, for providing improved municipal culture and recreation and safety, public safety facilities and services necessitated by such land development and redevelopment. Stating the authority for adopting the ordinance, making legislative findings, amending ordinance sections 92-2 purpose, 92-10 definitions, 92-20 computing the amount of proportionate share, 92-21 -25 payment of deposit into trust fund, 35 proportionate established, 92-42 use -67 basis, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. That was
That was your direction, and I and Mr. Mayor, if it would helpful, I can
I'll skip those 5 pages. So the exception I want to draw your attention to from your direction is on page changes in the table at the very bottom under the 70%. It was originally 630. Reasons why I think you should. The project is long enough on our data to get impact fee review that you're looking at. All at the same time. So if we started in April 2022, if then 1st of 2020, how you wanted to handle it. Also possible that, and Mr. Trask and I are going to review this, the development agreements that are in place for projects that have already been approved, certain of this, and just a couple of other points I want to talk to you about the schedule. So, recommended that you adopt the fees at the amount indicated. Adopt the fees at the schedule provides and helps us to these will not be increased. Pulling back of the allows us not to have 12.5% issue, and if the legislature else, we're probably a little bit more immune at this rate. Then with regard to the annual review that we talked about last week, the fees are calculated based on a ratio of the city's fixed assets, the valuation of those, and the built environment in the private sector. So as either one of those numbers changes up or down, mostly up in terms of the bottom number, the built area that's going to increase, and that calculation, that ratio changes. So because we're based on the data that we had at the time that we began this, there will be great amount of additional square footage that's going to come into that denominator, into that lower number, thereby reducing the overall amount of the fee. Because you're rolling into these fees with a discount rate, no matter how much that rate might, that overall fee cost might decrease, you're never going to get there before you look at them again. You're only going at 30% of what that rate is. If you reduce that rate by a whole $1, you know, and then you won't be getting there for 5 years. So that's something to keep in mind, that we would like. Talking about increases would be very helpful. Just as those data updates come annually from the property appraiser, we're going to set up an administrative procedure whereby staff can put the numbers into that. You don't have to go and call me or get a consultant, you know, unless the legislature does something really strange and it becomes a whole new game. Plug in the new property appraiser numbers, run that number, and tell you, you know, what the change is. So as you're looking out to getting to, that's basically all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions. Not having me recap.
Pipeline, although they haven't been presented to my concern is there's a lot of vacant property right across that bridge south of us, Pleasure Island, that selfish for me.
Really don't have a solution for you. The future is unpredictable. Business plans change all the time due to changing circumstances. I think you've done a remarkable consideration for all projects moving forward by just discounting the way you have. I'm very open to that discounting because it really makes your fee very defensible for several years. No matter what happens, you know, there's no way. And it allows you then, because this is the first time doing impact fees, to get an opportunity to get your feet under you and move forward in that regard. If you decide that you want to go with that April 2022 date, I need to understand if then the following October and then we get in sync with the fiscal year, or if it's always going to be April, so that staff have an opportunity to figure out how they're going to deal with that. But I strongly recommend that at some point, sooner rather than later, it coincide with the fiscal year, just for financial planning purposes, accounting and administration.
Maybe we go ahead with the April 1st, and then October 1st have the first 10% go ahead and kick.
Be up to you.
Can we do?
Months on that schedule like we want to be. Is it just, I mean, I don't want to sabotage this whole thing because we want to add anyway.
Yeah. Well, your ordinance says that you're going to review them on an annual basis, so you'll be taking that stale data and replacing it with new data. And my projection is, not having run the number, but based on having been around for a couple of years, see what's going up and see what the city's been doing in terms of investment. The number, that ultimate 1199, 150, you know, that number is going to decrease. You'll do that calculation and you'll make those revisions internally, but your ordinance should be fine as long as you abide by it. You go ahead and do that. And again, that best way to do that is in conjunction with the process. The property appraiser's figures come out, coordinate that. The less painful it's going to be for staff and for you. We'll, based on our last meeting, not this meeting apparently, you know, every time it comes up for the 10% renewal, somebody's going to come and say, you're killing me. And probably won't be dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what they do. And
What they do. Gary, if we do the reduction October, or is violate the 12.5%?
no, sir, because you're not increasing. Time that reduction. Question.
If I may, Jerry, you know, since I'm the kind of guy on the other side of the fence on this, I just want to run through a couple of things real quick.
Yes, sir.
You guys know that I think the concept is great. Jerry's been around since I've been around, so I've been for this concept the whole time. We just kind of got the numbers just recently, and I think that is where I'm really having my heartburn. But the numbers have to make sense. You know, and I got kind of scolded here the other day about calling us the guinea pig because we have so many. There's other towns that are doing this, but we still don't have any data from those other towns. I know Commissioner Price did some nice research, but, you know, that's not really her job. We were supposed to have research coming in of what other towns are charging so that we can at least say to ourselves when we're voting on this that, okay, these prices are fair. And I know we got every year that we can go back and make calculations and make changes and things along the line with the path that we're going down. But, you know, where it's really going to hit home is when the first person comes up here that just bought a lot here in Madeira Beach and wants to put a 3,000 square foot, you know, an open lot, wants to put a 3,000 square foot home on it, and we stick out our hand and say, you got to give us 42 grand first before you get started. You know, is that a fair impact for you to give somebody? I don't know. Maybe it is, but maybe it's not, and we don't know because we don't have any other data. So, Jerry, I'm a little disappointed that we don't. That's the one thing I just kind of wanted to bring up. We're blindly. And I'm not really good at blind trust anymore at this point in my life, but we're blindly following you on this, that you're saying that these numbers are correct, okay? So that's why I'm on the other side, and I just wanted to let you know that.
Well, I've got a question now that you bring that up. If there is a vacant lot, odds are at one time it had a structure on it. Can we go back in the records to what was on that property and say there was a 1,000 square foot house on that property? And will the impact fee be on the new 4,000 square foot house, or will it be on 3,000 of the 4,000 square foot house?
Excuse me just a moment.
Sure.
It's generally 1 year. If that previous structure was there within a year, then they would be credited for that.
Okay.
I presume every county and town and municipality that has implemented proportionate share fees has to go through the same analysis that you went through with our process.
It's not the same analysis, but there's an analysis required. You have to have a ratio, you have to have a level of service, and that's the long history that I didn't read you of what we've been doing. I mean, we started out with a comprehensive plan, that had level of service standards that weren't quantifiable.
Right.
So we had to revise those. And then in doing that, we discovered that were directed that the mobility fee was the first one to pursue if we were going to pursue one at all. And we didn't have a mobility plan upon which that we could rely in expenditures in the future. So we developed that mobility plan based on a plan that had been presented to the city in 1999. And some of the things came out of that. There were additional things added, but primarily it proved to be a good study and a good basis. And then we sent the level of service standards up to the state, and they had to do their review. And in the meantime, we continued drafting ordinances to get things ready. But until those level of service standards were adopted, we couldn't find the ordinances to be consistent with the comprehensive plan, which is what the LPA Planning Commission is designated as doing. And they make a recommendation to you, and based on that recommendation, you can make that finding. Once we got that all in place, then we had a position. And for the barrier island, Madeira Beach, you're built out, as I think I explained last year, or earlier this month. And so what makes sense for you is to capture the increment of increase in redevelopment or the very few opportunities for development on vacant properties that you have. Other places that are growing, like South Hillsborough County, they have raw lands out there, so they have a different approach, and they have a larger, for mobility, a larger area that they need to capture. And so the internal area of the city or the county may be looked at one way because it's built out too, so to speak, but the rural areas, the green areas that are green fields and being developed, they may have a whole different approach. You don't have all that complexity to deal with here. You're basically built out, all you're seeing is redevelopment. And so that's why we use the relatively, I would say, simple ratio that we have here, because that was the one that made the most sense. And that's been blessed by the commission and the LPA as we've gone along.
And do these figures now go to Tallahassee?
No.
No.
Once your comprehensive plan was amended to provide the basis for this, then your ordinances do not. Now, you do have an evaluation and appraisal of the entire comprehensive plan that we've sort of tandemed with in terms of organizing the plan and getting it ready, that is going forward. That will have to go to Tallahassee. And my understanding is that's going to go all as one package. You will probably see pieces of it here and there, or the LPA certainly will, and then when it's all ready to go, it'll come to you, and that'll be transmitted, go through the same process. And the other thing I wanted to point out, I missed it because I didn't go through my 5-page history. By the time you get to 100% implementation or 0% reduction, you will be in the process of doing another evaluation and appraisal of your comprehensive plan. So that's just all the more reason why the way that you've set up the discount kind of makes sense.
It'll basically be an eight-year cycle.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
7 years.
It's a 7-year cycle for the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
And you have 8 years based on the schedule that's in the ordinance now.
Well, I would be fine with go ahead with the April 1st, since we kind of committed ourselves to it last time around. But go ahead with the first increase or the first reduction, October 1st at the beginning of our next fiscal year, and each October 1st from there on out.
Would too.
Other comment here?
So as you're moving forward toward a motion, in the schedule that's at the bottom of the page, we're going to change that first 70% column to 4/1/2022.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Other than
I
that,
apologize. I had to follow my sword a little bit for the
no,
fiscal stuff.
I understand what you were saying, but I also know I don't want to be unfair to things that I know are in the works for the city, where people have already obligated themselves, and they did that not knowing about impact fees. Gary?
Yes, sir.
That's got it for us. Is there any public comment on this, Ray?
Ray Kerr, 583 Johns Pass Avenue, Madeira Beach. The last opportunity I had to speak on this, I suggested that it wasn't the right thing to do for residential. Commercial still open to figure out. I still believe that. During the discussion, came up that we're not guinea pigs. Impact fees are done throughout the state. Flagler County, Flagler Beach was mentioned. I contacted Flagler Beach. You would not have impact fees if you renovate or demo and rebuild within 1 year. If it's an empty lot, the impact fees total roughly $9,500. I also contacted many of the jurisdictions up and down the barrier islands, trying to get a feel for where our permit fees are right now comparably. And my best guesstimate, and I was using the 3,000 square foot home, and it's roughly at $350 a square foot, what they're going for now. Use those estimates. Town of North Reddington Beach, an empty lot would be roughly $12,600 versus a renovation of $332. Clearwater, they do theirs on a calculator, and it's hard to get a real good feel. And new construction is considerable. I don't have the number here in front of me. But if you go back under replacement, and I don't have the answer on that, but I believe that replacement means demo and rebuild, it's like a couple $100 versus same sort of $10,000, $20,000. I didn't bring it all here. But what I'm getting to is we've asked Jerry if residential can be separated from commercial, and the answer is no. But can new construction be separated from reconstruction? The way Clearwater has it, like I said, I didn't get their answer, but that's what I believe replacement means. And if that's the case, problem solved. Hopefully you'll understand that and talk about it. Thank you.
You are replacing your existing building, you'd have zero
Right.
proportionate share according to
Right.
our plan, so.
Yeah, because it's only if you go up on your square footage over what is existing. So if you're replacing an existing structure, same
wouldn't have-
size, you have no impact fees.
It's only when you get larger.
One of the things that Linda said last time was because of setbacks and so many of our properties not meeting current rules, Madeira Beach, most places in Madeira Beach are going to be built in less than a year. So there are not going to be very many of those empty lots that were.
Okay. Any other discussion? For a motion?
I'll make a motion that we pass ordinance number 2021-10 with the slight change that the discount percentage implementation by fiscal year begin on April 1st, 2022 for the 70% discount, and then the 60% discount stay the same as written in the statute at October 1st, 2022, and then every year thereafter on October 1st.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Vice Mayor Price,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Andrews,
No.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 4-1.
Next on the agenda is city manager search. Commissioner Andrews, this is your item on the agenda. If you'd like to take the floor, please.
No, that'll be fine, Mr. Mayor. I do think for the sake of integrity, we should, if it pleases the board, that we ask Mr. Daniels to step out of the meeting. Obviously, he can't add anything to this conversation, and I think that just for the integrity of the whole process that we do that. But it's up to you guys.
Don't feel like the city manager needs to step out at this time.
It is a public meeting, and he has the right to be here whether he sits in the audience or up here. We don't want to have to address that issue later.
Okay, no problem.
That's fine.
Okay, let me run through a few things real quick. Sean, the ad looks fine. It's a little fluffy for my taste, but that's just me. But if I was looking for a job, that's an advertisement I'd reply to. If you'd like to go through it, if we can just wait until the end, and after we set the parameters on this, then we can certainly go back and go over what everybody wants to see in this document. Okay. It's important that we discuss this because I think if I were applying for the job, part of my due diligence would be to listen to a meeting like this to see what's going to be expected of me in a job, but that we're not really going to articulate on paper. So I'm going to go through a few things, and please stop me as we go, and we can discuss them. They're not real controversial things. I think that any search that we're going to do should probably maintain these things. They can certainly be tweaked. I just wrote some down so that we had something to go off of, okay? First and foremost, this has to have integrity, so it's got to be legitimate, okay? I can promise you I cannot sit through another series of meetings like Commissioner Hodges and I sat through during the last time we tried this. The behind-the-scenes shenanigans that occurred during the last one, and I won't expand on it, but this has to be seen as being above board, okay? Unquestionably legit and completely transparent. So I'm assuming nobody has any issues with that, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. The second thing is this has got to be advertised as an open job requirement, okay? A requisition, I'm sorry. So as of September 1st or thereabouts, Mr. Daniels' contract expires. Now, he is free to apply for this or any other job in Madeira Beach or wherever, okay? But we have to make this known right now to get the best possible candidates that this is not Bob's job to lose, okay? The votes are in. We as a board decided to do a search for the best possible candidate. We didn't decide to do a search to compile resumes and compare them to Mr. Daniels, okay? While I wasn't thrilled with the newspaper articles a couple of weeks ago, discussing them right now is meaningless. I think they may have taken some liberties with some of the quotes and some things ended up out of context. But in order to attract blue chip talent to this, we need to let everybody know that this is an open requisition, okay? And we need to publicly declare that now. Does anybody have a problem declaring this is an open job requisition?
I have a question, Doug.
Yes.
When you say it's open just to the people here in Florida, or you open it nationwide?
Oh, I think I don't think we can section this off as being just from Florida. Yeah, I think it's open to everybody.
It's open to
anybody who has the requirements that we're asking for in our job listing.
Are you done?
No, I got a couple more if you don't mind.
All right.
Okay. I've heard from a few people outside, well, who's going to want to take that job yesterday? Anyway, 4 years ago, I probably would have agreed with that assessment. But look where we are. The three people in front of them, one got found, was banned for life by the ICMA. The next one got found guilty by the state of Florida for corruptly abusing his position. And then the last one turned himself into the ICMA and was publicly censured. So, yeah, for a while now, this job has not been high end, okay? However, it appears that we've become an agendaless board. We've made two significant moves in our charter officers. The gentleman sitting next to Vice Mayor Price, the difference between you and your predecessors night and day, and I've already chatted up Andrew enough. I don't want to get him to be too cocky here. So, but this has really turned this into a really high-level job, a great job again. So I think it's going to attract some top-level talent. So how do we do it legitimately? Okay. First and foremost, our current city manager can in no way, shape, or form be involved in this process as an administrator. Okay. I think we need a confidentiality agreement signed by Mr. Daniels, and anyone that we choose to assist outside of our charter officer to sign one as well. If the HR director who does work for Bob directly signs an NDA, I have no problem with the resumes going to the HR department. Sean can visually pre-screen them, and the ones that meet the minimum requirements, they should be given directly to the Board of Commissioners. This is our decision, guys, okay? I would suggest that there should be no interviews that take place without a candidate with a Board of Commissioner in the room. I would suggest that no interviews take place, I'm sorry, I just said that. I suggest we post the job immediately, not 3 weeks from now. Immediately, we collect resumes for the next 3 weeks, and then call a special meeting and go through the candidates to see who we'd like to interview. My suggestion then would be, let's spend the next 2 weeks personally interview the candidates, okay? You can choose to interview a candidate. You can choose to interview them alone, have HR with you, or a charter officer, if available. Completely your choice. They are our hire, okay? And finally, I'd like to suggest that we call another special meeting after that, review our notes, and then vote on the next city manager. If my math is correct, that would get us to around August 15th. We can then negotiate a start date, salary, contract, et cetera. And I wouldn't panic if, we choose somebody outside of the year that can't start until even mid-September. We have plenty of people capable of holding on to the reins until then. However, I would love to have the board approve them before we approve the final budget. That's all I got. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, City Attorney, will there be a problem with what was proposed about confidentiality agreement with?
We're subject to the public records law, and so, no, the confidentiality agreement won't work because the public will have the opportunity to review that agreement. So I don't really feel comfortable with that. And the non-disclosure, I don't see a problem with a non-disclosure agreement. But the other aspect of it, I think it's fine. I don't see anything illegal or improper about it. I don't know if the timing will work out the way that, in the best case scenario, I guess the timing would work out, but that's something that staff should be working on, under your direction, obviously.
Okay. In going over the ad that you have here, Sean?
Yes.
Something I would like put in there is we need a candidate that's strong in finding and obtaining grants. There are a lot of them out there that we need to push for, and I know we're applying for some. And that's going to be a major thing, particularly going towards a high dry if that in fact materializes.
No problem.
So just so I'm clear at what I'm looking at, I've got 2 job announcements that seem very similar. There's slight changes, but what's the difference? Is one proposed for us to use and one is the old one that we used the last time?
That's correct.
That is, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
The one with the dates on is the old one.
Got it. All right.
So page 22 is the new one.
Correct. Okay.
Mayor, if I may, when I decided that I was going to apply for this position once it's posted, and hopefully the decision hasn't been made already, but I took myself out of any involvement with this other than the fact of advising Sean, Mr. Lilly, that we need time is of the essence to move this process along. And so that's why he's here tonight, and I am not in any way going to be involved with any of this process unless you all ask me a question or Sean asks me a question, but nothing involved with however the process is going. Just historically, if you do have somebody that applies that's a current city manager somewhere, generally the rule of thumb is a 4-week notice. So my only suggestion to you is, whatever you decide tonight, give Sean the go-ahead to move forward with it as ASAP. And that's the only suggestion I can give to you. But I've already taken those steps, and I've already explained that to staff, and I believe I explained that to you too, Mayor, that, I'm distancing myself from the process.
Yeah, and regardless of the decision by the commission on this, I would hope if this runs longer, I would have no problem if Mr. Daniels is not selected. If this runs longer than 1st of September and he's still available, I would like him to, at that point, stay as an interim until we can get someone in here. I know Commissioner Andrews said that we could get by, but I would rather see a fluid transition and have Mr. Daniels in place if he ends up not staying with the city. I'd like a smooth transition where he can be able to fill in his replacement.
I would agree with that.
And,
If we haven't made a decision in time.
right. And Daniels, how would you feel about that?
Sure. I mean, I'm open to that. Obviously, I want to be here, but I understand. I care for this city so much that I will hang in there to go through whatever you all want to do.
Okay. And I will say, Bob, you have worked well with me over the past year, and I want to thank you for all you've done.
There is one part of this job description I think needs a little tweaking. Down, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph. In closing, the city manager must be a member. Can we say must be or very soon thereafter become a member? Because we just need them to become a member. I don't know if do they have to be a member before?
Well, I think he
they take
has
the
to
job?
be according to the charter.
The charter requires it now.
Yeah.
Well, it requires it, but I believe the language in the charter says they must be in good standing with the ICMA. I believe that's what it says. And the way that I believe it was put in the last time that we went around, somebody could apply for the job that wasn't an actual member of the ICMA if they had the ability to apply for the job or apply for it and get accepted. So, but I believe it is, but again, I could be wrong.
Yep.
Just trying to find that section so I can answer your question.
The old ad did say the same thing.
Right. But I didn't think it was.
Yeah, and I think
I didn't-
that's the
I
case,
thought
that they do
the
need to be
intention
a,
was
We did have people applying before that actually made it past the first round that didn't currently have their ICMA membership. But
I just didn't want someone to read that
Right.
and not apply. I didn't want to narrow that, and I made that argument when when the amendment was made. I don't want to make our candidate pool small by requiring that up front.
Well,
But let's see how it ended up in the charter.
Not finding it, so.
It's, section 5.4, city manager, second paragraph.
Is it just a small blip? Why don't you read it
My
for us?
copy of the
Oh.
charter is from 2017 in my book.
It says.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's not there.
Got it, okay.
It says the city manager must be a member and maintain membership in good standing of the International City/County Management Association, parentheses, ICMA, and Florida City and County Managers Association, parentheses, FCCMA.
So we should, but I still think we need to, I mean, they can still apply and then become a member before we hire them. I mean, I don't know if who's gonna, typically the city buys that for the city managers, right? That's a general dues, but, you know, and they go and they do their continuing education and whatnot. So,
I think when they apply, the ICMA checks their record, but I don't know how they do that to make sure that they're approved,
well,
or,
that's because they don't tell you anything.
but it says they
That's what-
must
They don't
be.
even tell us anything
Yeah.
about anybody.
Right.
But, so, maybe we can change it in closing, the city manager, you know, candidates must be eligible to be a member of it prior to hire, or something like that. I don't want this to, as it reads now, it looks like we would be shrinking our candidate pool, and I don't want to do that. So how would we word that, I guess?
I think it just reads how it just reads in the charter. Because it
You've
looks
got to
like
go
the
by
same.
how it reads in the charter.
Yeah, but we want to explain to a candidate that they don't have to, at that moment, be a member. We can hire them, they can become a member, and then they can start work.
What about if?
All they want to do is collect your check and issue you a membership, I think. I don't think it's like a exam, be part of the CMA.
What if after closing, we put at the time of hire or something along those lines, the city manager must be a member?
I think that's a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great.
While you make the big bucks, Sean.
Ah. That was loud.
What do we see for timing? So what do we see for timing on when we're going to start taking
I'm
applications?
thinking by July 1st post, this, whatever it is, and put it on the city manager website and all that good stuff that we do. And I don't know if 3 weeks is enough. Should we give it till the end of July for all?
Shorten it as much as possible.
Yeah, I
Keep it
think
as concise.
Yeah, well, we got to get the word out. I mean, it's not going to be immediately known.
by July 1st, did you say?
Well, July 1st, we need to have posted,
That's
yeah, that's what,
tomorrow.
so tonight, we're going to
Yeah.
put this together, right?
Okay.
We're not going to wait for another meeting, I hope.
Yep.
Right.
Mr. Trask, we're not prohibited from actively recruiting people, are we, members of the board?
Personally,
Yeah, we
you're
could,
not prohibited from doing that. No.
okay, just want to make sure, thank you.
No.
You're
So-
unsure, sorry.
So tonight, we get the job announcement out there, and then what date do we want to have a deadline for applications? Because that'll be the next thing.
I have another option.
Okay.
You can always advertise it open until filled, which means, you know, whatever you need,
I'd rather whoever reads the ad knows that there's a hard deadline.
okay?
I would want to know that.
Probably going to have to advertise it for what, Sean, 30 days?
I think 30 days.
On this level, I would think so.
So July 31st would be deadline for applications. And then, what? Sean then takes I'm gonna make it up, takes the 10 applications and decides who's actually qualified and not.
Would like me to,
Hands
sure.
us the 7 that are,
Yeah.
by August 7th. And then we make arrangements.
And by then, I mean, you should have them done, have the closing date, if we're gonna bring it out to July 30th, have the closing date July 30th. I mean,
Yeah.
frankly, we should probably see, you know, not all of them are, he's gonna have time during the course of the month to say, okay, this person qualifies, this person doesn't. And then I would say, let's get them out to us right away. When you get them, give them to us,
So you want the selected one sent to you guys?
right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But can we do that in 3 weeks instead of taking the whole month?
No. At July 30th, then as they come in, Sean will look at the applicants and see if they meet the criteria, right? Because we do have some specific numbers of years of experience and blah, blah, blah. And then, hopefully, he can do that as they come in,
Mhm.
and then by the July 30 deadline, he'll have these packets for us and have them copied and say, here's the 10 or the 20 or whatever, you know, by probably August 4th, I would think. Give them 4 or 5 days, just to, I don't know if everyone puts their applications in on the last day or not. In nature, sometimes that'll happen.
Well, odds are if someone puts their application in on the last day, probably isn't the person.
Make that judgment up here, but okay. So, say we get them by August, I don't know, I'm not looking at a calendar.
I think we definitely need to have a meeting
Have
the
them by
first week of
August.
August. Right, so.
How about, we'll give a couple days for all of us to just look at them. I mean, it's really gonna depend on how many we have. Narrow it down to the top X people, 5, 3, whatever. And then spend the next week interviewing them.
You need to give an opportunity to do a background check on each one of these individuals before you keep pushing them down the line. You may find out that someone has applied and he's a great candidate, but he's been convicted of child molestation in some other city. So we need to do the background checks before they get so far along for you starting to decide whether or not they should be in the process.
Got it.
So, and I would, you need to rely upon Sean to do that. And you need to give them some time frame to do it. So let's build that in, whatever, and I don't know how much time it would take to do those background checks.
That's
your experience.
the agencies, really.
I'm sorry?
It takes me 5 minutes to order it, but it's based on the agencies, so.
Okay, so let's back up. July 1, post it. July 30th, receive everything. By August 6th, which is the following Friday, we all get packets of the candidates that qualify. What day do we want to try and narrow it down to the top? August 6th?
Makes sense for a background check in 6 days?
No, we don't want the background checked on all of them, because that's like $100 or something, right?
True, most of them
We only
we'll
want
have earlier.
that's what I'm trying to, let's get it narrowed by all of us down to the top 5. A special meeting. Then have Sean do background checks on the 5. We want to spend $3,000 on 30 background checks.
Out of the top 5, you pick the top 3, and then we vote on the top 3.
I don't know, I'm just throwing this out.
That's, everything. We can decide how many we want to interview. There's no set number. I think we can decide after we see what kind of response we get. My suggestion would be, we let Sean do all the administrative work that first week, but he's going to be doing it as he goes along, right? So, I mean, you could theoretically have everything ready for us by August 2nd.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, because, so, I'm thinking we have we meet to discuss the candidates we want to talk about the 4th, let's say, and then we start our interview process on the 9th, run it, I mean, there shouldn't be that many candidates where we can't get them to come in scattered over the first 3 days, August 9th through the 11th. Make a decision by the 16th, and then we go from there. And we can be flexible on the times, but let's have that in our heads. We don't have to post that anywhere right now. But let's have that in our heads right now,
Okay.
that's the schedule we're going on. Because if we can make a hire by the 16th, conceivably, we could have somebody ready to go on September 1st. It may take a little longer, it may not. Depends on the candidate, depends on the person.
So just so I'm clear, the background checks are on your final picks?
Just correct.
Okay.
Be the final.
You want a final 5 or final
Final 5?
10 or?
We can't, it's hard to say until we get how many.
I think we can decide that the first week
Applicants.
of August. I think once we see the candidates, we can decide how many we want to interview, and then we go from there.
At that point, I'll do the background check.
So July 1st, the ad in, August 2nd, cut off. August 9th, we have a meeting, special meeting.
I'm available for that.
There, I'd have it the end of the first week of August. We'd have a special meeting just to go over all the candidates. Select the ones we want, start interviewing process on the 9th of August.
We'll get together on the 6th.
Perfect.
So what's a good time on the 6th? So we can go ahead and, I guess
Like it later in
we
the
can
day?
schedule it later in the day and the
Yeah, later in the
month.
day if we could.
Are we talking August 6th, which is a Friday?
Yes. To work, or do we want to make it
So-
4, or, you know?
Well, we're going to need some time. That's the time we're going to go over the candidates?
That's the time when we can say, hey, here's my top 5.
And the week of the 9th, schedule interviews? And come back on the 16th to vote? Okay. John, let's run this down now.
Okay.
July 1st, the ad goes out. August 2nd is the cutoff date.
August 2nd?
July 30th.
I thought it was July 30th.
Okay.
July 30th, yeah.
August 2nd is then,
Applications from Sean.
going to get the applications from Sean, is that the plan? Sean, will you have enough time? I mean, that's a weekend you're going to have to go over those. I don't know if you're going to be able to do that.
Make it the 3rd. We're going to do it as they come in.
Well, yeah, I
I
know.
should be able to do it on the 2nd.
Okay.
I mean, if it's a day late, I don't see why I wouldn't be able to.
August 6th at 2 p.m., a special meeting to go over.
Okay.
The week of the 9th, we will do interviews with the candidates of the 5 or 10 or however many we decide to. August 16th, doing 2 p.m., that's a Monday. For a vote.
What's going on? Okay.
I have a conflict on Monday the 6th.
Okay.
Okay.
How are you for Tuesday during the day, Tom? Probably got a,
The 17th during the day is fine.
I just want to note one thing. August 6th, I'm not here. I'm actually out of town. Do you need me here?
That's when we're, yeah, we probably would.
It's fine. 5th is fine.
if you can
Okay.
have them
Now we're
sorted
backing
by
up.
then.
I'm on vacation till the, now I've got one day to look.
And helping us decide.
Publish
Yeah,
the packet
be here
on
for
the
input.
third,
Yes.
so the applications will be in the packet.
I much guarantee you I'm not gonna be prepared on August 5th. I'll be here, but I'm getting in from my vacation on the 4th.
Well, yeah, but basically, we're just going to be receiving the applications.
No, we're gonna be saying, here's my top 5. I can receive them anytime. I mean, as I'm
Okay.
coming in, I'll be swinging by picking them up, but I'm gonna want.
If you're gonna be on vacation, you'll have plenty of time to look at them then.
Absolutely not. Actually, probably would. They're emailed to me.
Okay.
So, do we want to change our, here's my top 5 meeting to the 9th? I mean, I don't know what else to,
I don't
can't
know.
back it up to the 5th, and it's the 6th. Sean's not here.
6th, Sean's not here. The 9th, Mr. Trask, do you have a conflict on the 9th?
No, not, the 9th is fine.
We'll do the 9th
In
and,
the morning?
well, do the 9th, that gives us the 10th, 13th for inter. The reason we can't.
And you're talking about interviews when?
Week of August 9 through 13?
What if there's people that have to travel? You know, if somebody has to travel to get here for an interview or whatever.
We can always push the final date back. I mean, I don't think we have to be locked into the 16th.
No, it's.
Let's put it in as being
It's
there, but if we have a
subject
special
to change.
exception. Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so the 5th, we're deciding on the top candidates, correct?
9th, we're starting out in the top 5.
The week, I thought the 9th, we're starting to do interviews.
Oh,
What's the 5th for? And then the 17th for special meeting at 2 p.m. for a vote.
I thought it was the 9th for the special meeting. 7th is, 17th, okay.
So July 1st, the ad goes in. July 30th is the end of the ad. August 2nd, we will be given the top candidates. August 9th, we'll be deciding our top candidates group. August 17th at 2 p.m., the final vote. All of these meetings are at 2 p.m., is that correct?
yep.
The interview is still August the 3rd, the week of August the 10th.
if there's other than getting that in there about the grants, that's all I've got.
Okay.
I think that was it for, I don't remember that anyone else had anything.
And the city manager piece too. Time of hire. City manager, sorry, the, membership.
ICMA.
Right, you got the,
Am I going?
Yep.
yeah, at time of hire must be,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, got it.
Little, I'm a natural born editor. In the first paragraph,
Uh-huh.
about halfway down in the center, oh, well, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 lines down, says with one of the most unique shopping destinations in the state of, can we say shopping and entertainment?
Sure.
I think that describes John's Pass a little bit better. Then, oh, boy, that's, then the very next sentence, Board of Commissioners consists of 5 elected officials who each serve 2-year terms, along with a mayor who serves a 3-year term. I think we should change that word to including the mayor who serves a 3-year term.
Can do that.
I didn't have any other qualifications to add.
Yeah.
I do like the grants.
Okay. Else here have anything? Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
Is there any public comment on this? Okay, I think we're all set with that. With that, this meeting is adjourned at 6:07 p.m.